I'm sorry. This session will start with the Heartfulness meditation team. And Dr. Sunita Agarwal, our board member, will be introducing the presenters. Dr. Agarwal.
Thank you, Raviji. It is my honor to introduce today's yoga and meditation team. Namaste and welcome. It is like a dream come true for me because in 1992, when I was a resident in general psychiatry, I was participating in journal club, and I read in a journal of psychiatry the benefits of yoga and meditation, and I chose it to be my topic. And it is so wonderful that after almost 30 years I'm gonna say a few lines from what I spoke then. Early morning hours are the most powerful time to draw peace and love from God in meditation. We then walk through the whole day with a stock of wisdom and love and assurance that we can always be there for others in their time of need. Only after we come over our own situation and acquire stability that we are able to listen, understand, and create a feeling of trust and friendship, and thereby helping others discover their solutions. Medically speaking, during the course of practice of meditation and yoga, there is circulation of synovial fluid around the spinal cord. And I use this word, which is commonly addressed as, oh, it's a pain in the neck, that when synovial fluid circulates and yoga helps facilitate that, that's how it's a treatment for pain, and it's also preventive. And it helps from so many problems like high blood pressure, depression, and anxiety. And today, our first speaker is Mr. Vincent Moore. I'm honored to present him. He's going to talk about yoga, and he has practiced Hatha Yoga for 20 years. He was placed first in 5K runs in his age group, and he's a registered yoga teacher. So, ladies and gentlemen, here is Mr. Vincent Moore.
You want to introduce all the other two also, so that there is continuation about when they start, they can go one after another.
Okay, absolutely. Absolutely. So our number 2 presenter is Pushpa Patel, and her topic is Pranayama. She is a master's in microbiology and immunology. She has 18 years of sales experience. Currently, she is an oncology sales account manager for Regeneron Health. She is a certified heartfulness volunteer and practitioner for 20 years, heartfulness trainer since 2019. She is a Patanjali yoga teacher and has 15 years of experience, trained with Baba Ramdev Patanjali at the Patanjali Yoga Institute, where there was the first international yoga camp in Haridwar, India. Our third speaker is Anjali Brennan, an Ayurveda practitioner, and her topic is Ayurveda in times of COVID, which is very much needed. She's an Ayurveda practitioner for last 20 years. She has received personal clarity to the study and practice of Ayurveda through heartfulness meditation, trained by Dr. Vasant Lad at Ayurveda Institute in USA and Pune. She runs the Ayurveda Natural Health Center in Beaver Creek, Ohio. She leads the Panchkarma retreats. She's trained in various body works and meditation. She has practiced and has been at the University of Cincinnati Alternative Medicine Rotation for Family Practice. She's also certified heartfulness trainer volunteer. I'm sorry if I may have missed something. And so once again, welcome to everyone and thank you all for joining.
We can play the short 2-minute message from Daji if you're okay with that. I can share the screen.
Please do.
Namaste everyone. I'm very happy to be part of Sort of Hope campaign by Times of India. We have multiple scenarios while observing COVID. My submission is today for those who have contracted the virus should be given confidence time and again about their medical treatment. If this confidence is replaced by anxiety and stress, what happens? Anxiety and stress in its turn will make the whole physiological, emotional system extremely vulnerable, and as a result, you are compromising with immunity. Another scenario is for those who are healthy and resilient. I think they should maintain social distance diligently and ensure that we all follow simple safety guidelines. It would be of great benefit if we can actually double mask while in public places. Research also has shown that a balanced and calm mind, a serene heart, leads to a healthier body. Gently and slowly implement yogasanas, pranayama, and meditation in daily routine. Eightfold yoga system is not a religion. Ashtanga yoga is not a religion, but a set of physical, mental, and spiritual exercises. Yoga is beyond physical exercise. It's beyond mere asanas and pranayams. It is a holistic practice. Meditation being the most important of them all. Let us all pledge to begin practicing yoga with sincerity. Thank you.
Take it away, Vincent.
Good morning, brothers and sisters in yoga. Welcome to the weekend yoga retreat. I'd like to thank the Hindu temple for putting this excellent program on. I'd like to thank Heartfulness Dayton for allowing me to be here this morning. So we're going to get started by just sitting tall. And one moment, please. We're going to sit tall, lengthen from our spine to our crown. And as you can tell this morning, I am sitting in a chair. So if you're on your mat, that's fine. But if you can sit to the front of your chair, a nice solid chair, and sit tall, like I mentioned, lengthen your spine, and just begin an easy in and out breath. And if you're wearing glasses, go ahead and take those off. Just gently close your eyes, have your hands laying in your lap. Just easy, follow the breath in and out during our practice this morning. Lengthen from tailbones to crown of head and come to your heart and settle in the silence of your heart. Breathe in and out deeply, settling into that silence. As we prepare to begin a new day, This morning, we're going to do a little spinal warm-up. Just be quiet, follow your breath. Leave at the doorstep of your heart any worries about the future, any grievances with the past. Just come into the present moment. Gently open your eyes, maybe about halfway. Bring your hands to heart in the prayer mudra. So begin rotating the heels of your hands to make some heat in those heels. And then gently place them on your eyes. Remember to come back to your breath anytime thoughts start to wander. And keep that focus on your heart. So as your eyes begin to warm up from our long night's sleep, let's move the heels of our hands out to our temples and begin massaging. So massage your temples and the top of your head a bit if you'd like. And then bring the heel of those hands down in front of your ears. And you can massage above your ears too, where you may wear glasses or where we've been wearing masks. Come down to massage your jaw. During the course of our practice this morning, relax all your facial muscles and especially your jaw. Take those fingers behind, massage at the base of your skull. And then move on down to where you're massaging both sides of your neck. You can have just a touch of manipulation here if you'd like to. Work out the kinks from our good night's sleep we had because we did our prayer before bed last night. So just let your hands relax gently into your lap now. You can go into Om Mudra or let them sit any way you'd like. And you can put your glasses back on if you like. So let's just go to rolling our shoulders back as we continue just a simple warm-up this morning. You can also do this in the afternoon after your long day at the computer screen, whatever you might do. Just roll those shoulders forward now. And let's reaffirm our sitting tall. We're lengthened. We're coming back to our breath. Now keeping your eyes open, just let your chin fall slowly down to your chest and look straight down. We're gonna exercise our eyes a little bit also. And then let that float up to the extent that you can, just no pain, and look back over your head. So we're working our eye muscles and our neck. Look down, up, lengthen, continue, follow breath. Down one more time. Up and back to the extent it's comfortable, and then back down to neutral. So in the same manner, look way to your left, and then look way to your right. Working not only the neck muscles, but also the eyes. Back to the left, to your right. One more time. Now as you come back to neutral, look up to your left, down to your right, and then look up and back to your left, down and back to your right, up and down to your left, down to your right, up, and then come back to neutral. So we'll move to nose circles. So just take your nose in big circles. Let that head roll on the shoulders as it's comfortable. And then we'll move that back the other way. As the sun comes up this morning on this beautiful day for a yoga camp. And then you can go back the other way a bit if you'd like. Come back to neutral. So just let your left arm stretch out to your side as you bring right ear to the right shoulder. We're stretching out the side of our neck here, completing the 6 ways of our neck. Follow that Ujjayi breath. An ocean sounding breath you get by tightening the back of your throat. So come back to neutral. Let your right arm hang out and take your left ear to left shoulder. After a couple breaths, take your left arm and we're reaching out. Now follow that with your gaze. We're bringing that left arm up right beside us. And then we're going to arch over, opening up all of our side ribs here. Breathe into those side ribs. And then let's just go straight to the opposite side, opening up side ribs here. Practice will not only prepare us for the rest of our yoga camp this morning, but for the rest of our day. And we'll bring that back down. Bring your hands to prayer at the heart. So let those prayer hands just float straight up in front of you as you try to bring your elbows together. Just bring that up comfortably high. And then as you're coming back down, spread your fingers out like this. And then separate the heels of your hands so you're stretching out your fingers. Let's repeat, bring the heels back together, fingers back together, up. And then as we come back down, spread the fingers, separate the heels. We'll do that one more time. Together, up. With the in-breath, and then exhale, come down, spread the fingers, spread the heels of your hands, and back to prayer at the heart. Just open up your hands toward me like this, so the palms are facing, the thumbs are still totally together. Bring that first finger down as we come into Lotus Mudra. Some of you may be familiar with this. So we're going to do Lotus Mudra wrist rolls to loosen up those wrists this morning. So bring your hands down so your fingers are pointing at me, and then bring your thumbs and first finger together. We're going to roll across the back of the wrists like this, and then in and back around. So let's do this several times. See, I'm manipulating my wrists in and out a bit here. Helps with that carpal tunnel thing. Warm your wrists up. Come back to neutral and then take it on the inverse. Go the other way. You'll bring your little fingers together here. Roll across the knuckles. And then back to prayer at the heart. Now clasp your fingers together. Push your palms out toward me. Then up over your head. So you can barely see it, but turn your palms over so they're pointing down toward the crown of your head. So bring your right arm down and your left elbow back up behind you, similar to this here, just to the extent that you can do it, just where it's comfortable and a little more. Stretch your arms back up and we'll do the other side. So bringing our left arm down, right elbows up. Let's do that 2 more times real quick here. Opening up the shoulders and the chest, letting that heart shine. Up again. And up. And that'll do it. Prayer to the heart. Bring your fingers pointing out straight at me. Palms up. Take those fingertips back to the shoulders and roll those shoulders around. This way. Now bring those arms up My palms are facing each other. I'm stretching way out. Now rotate at your waist toward your left knee. Let your hands come down. That back arm will come to behind you. The front one will come to a knee. So we're doing a simple twist. Don't crank into this really hard. Just make it very simple. Now we're opening up this back shoulder like a gate. And then actually you should be looking behind like I am now. Lengthen the spine, straight, but not stiff. We're gently rotating our spine this way. So looking at that back arm, you can see I'm bringing it up. And then I'm arching over toward the opposite knee. So I'm opening up my side and back ribs here to allow for better airflow. As I can see the beautiful sun coming up across the field this morning. So follow that back up using core muscles with all these moves. So let's come back to over that left knee. You can stretch that leg out and reach down. Just make sure you got a sturdy base before you do this. Be especially careful if you got wheels on your chairs. So we're going to come back up, palms facing, rotate toward that opposite knee. Hands come down. We're doing exactly opposite of what we just did. So I'm lengthening through my spine, giving my back a gentle twist. I'm reaching out and I'm arching over toward opposite knee. Again, giving some room to the ribs, breathing in and out. We're going to let that come back down. Bring our hands back up, stretch over this right leg. So I'm going to gently reach out and give a little stretch here. I'm going to come back up to the sitting position and readjust everything here. So we'll go through one more asana here to finish out our 6 ways of stretching our spine. So let's begin with the tailbone and arch like a Halloween cat here. Exhale, pull your tummy up under your ribs. Exhale completely, let your chin come down to your chest. Then with an inhale, inhale big into your abdomen, ribs and chest. You can lean slightly forward, let your belly just relax, lengthen. We'll do that 2 more times. Arch back, pull that tummy up under the ribs with a big exhale. And inhale. Relax that stomach, lengthen. And then one more time. Exhale, pull that tummy up under the ribs. Inhale, lengthen. Come back to a strong sitting position. Reaffirm your sitting position. Come back to your breath. Just gently close your eyes. Reaffirm that strong sitting position. Follow that breath. In and out. Continue that breathing. Continue to prepare for the new day. Coming into the present moment. Leave all worries of the past behind. Let the future go. And bring your thoughts right into the present moment. You can keep your eyes closed, but bring your hands to heart in prayer. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. May all beings everywhere be happy and free. And may the result of our practice on this yoga weekend support that happiness and freedom for all. Namaskar, my brothers and sisters. Thank you so much for joining me this morning. Stay tuned for the rest of the Heartfulness team. We've got some great presenters coming up, including Joshua, which I can't wait to see. So with that, I'll turn it back to the moderator. And again, namaste. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you very much, Vincent. Wonderful. Relaxed, everybody. Pushpaji, you are ready to go. You can start.
Sure, I sure am. First of all, I want to take the opportunity to say thank you to Hindu temple team, all the community people, Heartfulness team. I am honored to be part of yoga camp. I started my yoga teaching from temple, so it's so nice to, it's like a circle back. I taught there for 3 years once I became a yoga teacher at the Patanjali Yoga Peeth in 2008. So today I have about 15 minutes, and what we are going to do is I'm going to, most of the other teachers, they have really focused on what pranayama is, and Vincent also brought that in. So I want to focus a little bit on mudra, and then we're going to discuss 5 different pranayam. So a few things about the pranayam. Pranayam is, prana means life, air, and ayam means disciplining. So throughout the day we are breathing, but with this we are breathing.
You're muted.
Yeah, I accidentally got muted. Yeah, just give me 1 second. Okay, so throughout the day, we are breathing, but when we do a pranayam, we are doing a conscious breathing. We are putting total our attention in now and on the breath. And it's the 3 things we have to remember with pranayam is the technique, how we do it. Because a lot of people, if they have blood pressure, you do want to do it at a slower speed. So I will teach 5 different pranayam, and I'll teach the technique. The second thing is regularity. It's not going to help you if you do just one time. This is like early morning. Make this every morning, make that as your time. If you wake up whatever time, you wake up a little bit early and put this time for yourself. And this will charge your battery for throughout the day. So timing is very important, doing regularly every day. And the third thing is amount of time, how long to do it for. So I will share with it. If you are healthy, then you do naturally, proactively, you work on it. But if you have any health issue, I want you to increase that longer time. You can do twice a day, 3 times a day. Couple of things to worry, not worry, but to watch out for. If you're pregnant, you don't want to do a couple of these pranayam that I'll point out very fast. Second thing is, if you've had any kind of surgery, you want to wait, because pranayam does, when you're doing these pranayam, you're putting a effort, and if you have stitches or anything, you want to heal before you do that. The third thing I really highly encourage is have a clear bowel movement. And I know we don't talk about it, but I all my life had been constipated, and when you have a constipation, then you have a lot of disease. So I suffered from migraine myself since I was 13-year-old until 43-year-old. I'm 55, and I have been migraine free since 43. So this can really help improve your health. So one of the technique I want to just share, as soon as you wake up, have a big glass of lukewarm water, just water, and set a routine. And so you want to do a pranayam when you have a bowel movement. And the third thing is you do not want to eat. And I know Vijaya mentioned that, and all the other yoga teacher also mentioned that. So when you're doing a pranayam, you want to have an empty stomach. So the first thing in the morning is a great time to do it. Or if you do it in the evening, let's say you have time in the evening, then do before dinner. At least give 3 hours or 4 hours after your meal. You can eat after half an hour of pranayam. So those are some basic rules that I wanted to share with everybody. Now I want to share, so when we do pranayam, one of the things I want to bring it to, I focus a little bit on mudra. I also focus on a little bit of acupressure. So today we'll just talk about mudra and talk about the pranayam. So in the mudra, according to Ayurveda, and I know Anjali will go over it more, but we believe our body is made out of 5 elements. So thumb represent fire element in your body. The index finger represent air. This is a space. This is earth, and this is water. So different finger we touch, they are called mudras, and they have effect on our body. So this is a Gyan mudra. It is very good for meditation, for relaxation. It helps with insomnia, with anything to do with your mental wellness. This will help. So you could even walk while holding in this mudra. So there are a couple of pranayam we are going to do in this mudra. The other mudra I want to share with you is this mudra. This is called Apan mudra. So you take your fire finger, you take your space finger and your earth finger, and this is, it's like a bunny's ear. So this is called Apan mudra, and what Apan mudra is good for is to remove all the waste product out of your body, like toxins out of your body, carbon dioxide out of your body, anything negative what our body does not need. This will help take it out. So we are going to do one pranayam in Apan mudra. If you have a joint problem, arthritis, like I suffer from arthritis, so what you want to do is take your air finger and roll the air finger right at the base of thumb like this. And this is called Vayu Apan mudra. Vayu means air, and Apan mudra is to remove the toxins. So it will remove the Vayu dosha out of you. So that's another mudra we are going to do today. And then the third one, actually, I'll just go over. So this is a water. If you have a water imbalance, you have a dry skin, you have a bladder problem, then this is the water finger. So you can do this. If you don't have enough energy, this is another mudra which brings the energy. I think let's just go over those four mudras. So now I want to focus on the pranayam. The first pranayam we are going to do is called Bhastrika. And Bhastrika basically is deep breathing in, deep breathing out. So we take 2.5 seconds to breathe in, 2.5 seconds to breathe out. We're going to do in a Gyan mudra. Relax your shoulder, relax your face. Mouth is closed. We're going to breathe in through the nostril and breathe out through the nostril. 2.5 seconds to breathe in and 2.5 seconds to breathe out. So let's do that for about 30 seconds. So this was what you do is 2.5 seconds to breathe in, 2.5 seconds to breathe out. And a person who is healthy should do this at least 5 minutes a day. And if you have any disease, you want to increase this. And with this, you get 10 times more oxygen. So throughout the day, we are breathing in. We do a lot of shallow breathing. So when you consciously breathe in, and you are going to remove all the carbon dioxide, toxins, everything out of your body. So that was called Bhastrika. Bhastrika means oxidation. It means it's burning the food we eat and the oxygen we're going to take in and produce the carbon dioxide, water, and toxin waste product. The second one we are going to do is called Kapalbhati. Kapalbhati, we are going to take our Apan mudra, so fire finger, space finger, earth finger, and then if you have a Vayu dosha, then you can bend this. Every part of your body is completely relaxed. You can put your one hand on your stomach right by the navel, like belly button. The other hand, just so you know you're doing it right, you put your finger in front of nostril. All we are focusing in this one is to breathe out. So you want to have a 1 second, one stroke. And if you are healthy, you can do faster. If you have a high blood pressure, anything else you want to do slow. So this one is a medium speed, what I'm doing. And you are going to do 1 second, one stroke. So when you do it, you will see your stomach going in and you will see the air hitting your finger. So like this. So yeah, this one is an Apan mudra. So you want to do this at least, this one is something you have to build it. A healthy person should do at least 15 to 20 minutes. If you have any disease, then you want to increase that to half an hour or more. This is, if you don't learn out of all the pranayama, this is the one pranayama I really would like you to learn. This helps you, even if you have a disease, you know, disease does not manifest until later on, right? It starts at a seed form and very early. So this helps remove that we don't even know what is going on. It will also create a lot of energy. You will feel like throughout the day, you have a lot of energy. So if you have any question, please ask me, or, you know, at the end of it. But this one, you can do, start with 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, like that, and increase it. And usually when I was doing classes, I think most of the students were able to do, we would take like a 7-8 minute break and do some stretching for the hand, and then we'll do again. But 15 minutes is what you want to shoot for, but it takes time to get used to that. This will really help get, I can read up for you, but it helps with your total health. It will remove blockages. It will, I mean, I want to just share one more thing, that my mother was a stage 4 lung cancer in 2000, and the doctor had given her 6 months to live. She passed away in 2018. And the reason I gave, of course, she had medications and she was part of clinical trial, but she also did every day 1.5 to 2 hour pranayama every single day. And when I saw her improve, that's when I became the teacher. And this has helped my health also. The third pranayama now we are going to do is called Anulom Vilom. So Anulom Vilom is alternate nostril breathing. And yesterday, I think some of the yoga teachers talked about it, and I want to share with us too. So as we, when we breathe from this nostril, you get a, this is a luna, it's called Ida. And this side nadi is called Pingla. And this is called Sushumna. So what happens when we are breathing from this nostril, we are getting oxygen to this side of the brain, which controlling the opposite side of, yes, so please try. I will answer all your questions. Please do try warm water. So this will control, and when we breathe through the right nostril, our left side of the brain gets oxygen, which controls the right side of the body. This is a solar nadi. So if you are ever cold in wintertime, you're cold, or then you want to breathe from here. If you are feeling hot, like sometimes people get so angry and they just can't think, and their body is like just, you know, at that point, I want you to close your right nostril and just breathe 10 times from left nostril. This will calm you right away because this is lunar nadi. And what an ideal person has is a both side of the brain balance. So you can see when you meet people, there are people who are left side of the brain, they're very good at math, analytical, all that. Then you meet people who are artistic, people who meditate, the right side of the brain. What we want is both side of our brain balance. So let's just do a 30-second of Anulom Vilom. I leave this hand in a Gyan Mudra. This hand is a 90 degree. I put my thumb on the right nostril. I'm going to breathe through the here, 2.5 seconds to breathe in, 2.5 seconds to breathe out. Wherever you breathe out, you're going to breathe in from there and breathe out. So this is how you do alternate nostril breathing. This helps with anything, with the depression, anxiety, sleep, insomnia. You can do this, 5 minutes in the nighttime. with this one, you can do anytime. And this has helped me with my migraine. The last two pranayam we are going to go is called Brahmari. Brahmari is basically a bumble. I want to tell you with Anulom Vilom, it's the same amount of time what you do Kapalbhati. If you do 15 minutes Kapalbhati, you have to do 15 minutes of Anulom Vilom. So Brahmari, you do it by putting your first finger here. These three fingers go like this. So my middle finger is touching the base of the eye. And then if you have a your thumb is going to block this little flap on the front of the ear like this. So you're not able to hear anything. I'm going to just do one and show you. You take a nice deep breath in. And as I'm going to breathe out, I'm going to make a sound of Om, and which will give the vibrational therapy. So let's do it again. This helps with depression, anxiety, sleep. It calms your whole nervous system. So this you can do you can do as many times as you like. The last one we are going to do is Udgit, and Udgit you again do in a Gyan Mudra, and your shoulders relax. I'm going to take a nice deep breath in, and as I breathe out, I'm going to say Om. This is the first pranayama where my mouth is open, or I'm utilizing my mouth. So take a deep breath. I will end my program here. I want to say a little prayer. Om Sarve Santu Sukhinaha, Sarve Santu Niramaya, Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu, Ma Kashtu Bhagavate. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti Om. May all be happy, may all be healthy, may all enjoy prosperity, may none suffer. Om. Thank you for this opportunity. If you have any question, I can answer it before I.
Thank you, Pratibhaji. That was wonderful. And now we have our breath under control. So Anjali ji is going to start with her presentation about introduction to Ayurveda in COVID times. We'll hold the questions till the end because with Joshua's presentation, there is plenty of time after that. So why don't we just hold on to all the questions? We can put them in the chat box in the meantime, and we'll try to answer all of them during the question answer session. Thank you. Go ahead, Anjali.
Thank you. Thank you, all of you. So I'm going to go quickly through this presentation so we don't take too much time away from Joshua's presentation. So I've been given the challenge of speaking on Ayurveda in the time of COVID in 15 minutes. So I'm going to give you as much information as I can in 15 minutes. If I go too fast, somebody can slow me down. So we'll do a brief intro to Ayurveda, some COVID care and prevention tips, and then the question and answers, like they said, we will hold until the end of the presentation with Joshua. So Ayurveda is a 5,000-year-old holistic system of medicine from India. It has 8 branches of medicine. So again, we're just going to give you a small taste today. And it comes from the Sanskrit words Ayus, which is Sanskrit for life, and Veda, which is Sanskrit for knowledge of or study of. So Ayurveda is the science of life. And at the foundation of Ayurveda is the basis that everybody is unique. We have a unique mind-body constitution composed of 5 elements: space, air, fire, water, and earth. These elements are present in all of nature, as well as inside each of us. And the ratio of these elements is what makes us unique. So we're going to go over some of those constitutions today. So what works for one doesn't necessarily work for another. Some might ask, is this herb good for you? And Ayurveda would answer, good for who? It all depends on your constitution. So the word dosha literally means fault in Sanskrit because it's both your strength and your weakness. Like I said, there's 5 elements present, and Ayurveda puts these 5 elements into 3 categories. These are the 3 doshas. You can think of them as buckets. So when your buckets are full, each bucket, let's say one of those buckets is full, that's your strength, but a little bit more comes into the bucket and it flows over. And so that's why it's also your weakness. So Vata is space and air, Pitta is fire and water, and Kapha is water and earth. Everybody has all 3, but 1 or 2 usually dominate in a person and give you your unique mind-body type. So we're going to go briefly over into the doshas. Vata is space and air. So there's all these gunas, these qualities of Vata. It's like space and air. So it's dry. They tend to have dry stools that are constipated, dry nails, dry hair, dry skin. They're light in their physical matter. So they're usually really thin, and their bone density, they tend to have more problems having good bone density that's more light. And their mind is also light. So they may have active mind like air. It's quick moving. So they may have trouble with insomnia. They have a cold quality circulating in their system. So cold hands and feet. A subtle sense of intuition and touch because space is very subtle. So they're very creative, very imaginative because space is the field of all possibilities. When air moves fast, it roughens away at the surfaces of things. So it can create degenerative conditions. Air loves to move. It's its nature to move. So they love to move, travel. They love change. They easily adapt to new situations. When mobile quality is in excess, it creates tremors, spasms, and they have a clear quality because space is very clear. So they'll learn new things very easily, but then forget them just as easily because they're so clear. They maintain that clear quality. Pitta predominant people, it's fire and water. So Pitta predominant people will have all these gunas, these qualities. Now, just again, keep in mind that everybody has all 3, 1 or 2 usually dominate in a person. Sometimes people have all 3 in about equal proportions, and then they would follow seasonal recommendations based on the seasons because the doshas change per season, as we'll get into. So these are the different qualities of Pitta. They have higher cholesterol because of the oily quality and oily skin, but because it's mixed with hot of fire, it creates acne. They have sharp intellect, digestion. They have to eat their meals regularly or they will get hangry, angry. They have a light quality in terms of density, but also in luminosity. So they tend to have light eyes, reddish color in their hair, a light quality in their mind as well. Sour smell, like when they sweat, they may have a sour stomach. Liquid, so they tend to have more loose stools and they have a fluid ability to adapt in their system. Kapha is water and earth. So these are the gunas, the qualities of Kapha. So they have more cool skin. They have the oily quality that Pitta has, but because it's mixed with cold, it creates this smooth, oily complexion. They have that unctuous quality in their system. Their joints are lubricated and they have this melodious quality to their voice. So if you think of an opera singer, they're more heavier build, and that unctuous, oily quality lubricates their voice and it makes their voice so melodic. They do tend to have oily quality in their stools, so they may have looser stools. Heavy, so they have just more physical matter. They have a larger body frame. That quality in their mind can produce a tendency to lethargy. So they're really good at sitting, sleeping, and doing nothing, unlike the Vata predominant people. They walk slow, talk slow, they move slowly because earth is slow. Earth moves slowly. They have a steady disposition that's more methodical. And like I said, they have that smooth skin and then that good bone density, that dense quality that can also in the imbalance create a tendency to cysts, swelling, or tumors because earth can hold on to things. So each season of the year relates to a different dosha. So which dosha best correlates with fall is Vata because it's dry, it's windy. So people that are Vata predominant need to work harder in the fall to manage their Vata. Which dosha best correlates with summer is Pitta, it's hot and humid. And then winter is cold and wet, so it's more Kapha. So there's also seasons of life. So birth to puberty was going to be more kapha because it's a building, growing phase. Puberty to menopause or to 50 years in males is more pitta. It's the more driven stage of life, that more fiery energy. And then vata beyond menopause or after 50 years in males correlates with vata because then you're going back into the ether. The body begins to slowly degenerate, you know, over time, but you also become less focused in the material world and a little bit more focused in the air and ether into your consciousness. So that's the vata stage of life. There's different assessment tools in Ayurveda. So pulse is one that I use a lot in my practice. There's 7 levels of Nadi Pariksha and pulse assessment, and you can see what a person's constitution is through the pulse and what's going on with them now, checking organ pulses. Tongue is a really fascinating one. We'll go briefly into that. There's various different management tools. So once you know what your constitution is, your current state, what's going on with your organ pulses, there's different things we can use to help keep your system in balance. So different foods are better for certain constitutions. There's herbal remedies, marma therapy, which is acupressure points, panchakarma, which are detoxification and rejuvenation retreats, snehana, which is warm oil massage. That's amazing. And we can use different oils per your constitution. And then the 4-handed warm oil massage is my favorite, with 2 people working in synchronization over the whole body. It's very balancing to the left and right brain because they're in synchronization. Svedana steam therapy to open up the pores. Shirodhara, which is a continuous gentle stream of warm oil on the 3rd eye. And the forehead, there's different brain marmani, different brain pressure points here. So it creates like a womb-like state of relaxation. And we do that for about 20 minutes. And as a side effect, you get a nice hot oil treatment for your hair. Nasya, which are different nasal application of oils. And then dinacharya is really important in Ayurveda, your daily routine, including tongue scraping, yoga, pranayama, meditation, etc. So I was just briefly going to show you what tongue assessment is like because it's so fascinating and fun. This is from my teacher, Dr. Laud's book, Ayurveda, Science of Self-Healing. And not everybody realizes that the tongue is like a reflex map to the different digestive organs. So in India, everybody has a tongue scraper along with their toothbrush because they realize that there's a difference in effectiveness when you scrape your tongue versus just brushing it. When you scrape your tongue, you're getting a nice even pressure all the way along your tongue. And so you get like a massage of your whole digestive system, and it helps to detoxify your system. You can tell a lot about a person by looking at their tongue. If there's coating where you see this kind of thing, that's coating. And if it's white, it's heavy toxin. If it's red, it's more inflammatory. Red or yellow could be inflammatory. Brown, black is more vata, derangement, more of the space and air. You can see if there's spinal tension. You can see if there's curvature in the spine. You can see if there's malabsorption, unabsorbed nutrients. You can even see depression in the heart. There'll be a dip in the heart area of the tongue. So it's really quite fascinating. And that's something you can begin to start doing, looking on yourself. You can start looking at your tongue every day and see what you notice. So we're going to go into some Ayurvedic COVID care and prevention tips. So one of the first ones would be the neti pot or a saline rinse or a saline spray. So it can be done either through the neti pot or a saline spray, but it very effectively cleans the sinuses. And then when you put nasya oil inside, it creates a protective barrier. So at my center, we use a product created by my teacher at the Ayurvedic Institute called Super Nasya. And I really like that one. It has eucalyptus, sesame, coconut rose, different oils, but it basically decongests your sinuses as well as giving you that protective coating so that it can capture the COVID molecule or allergens or pollutants. And it creates a little barrier there. And then the saline spray can also clean all of that out so that it never enters into your lungs and respiratory system. You can even just use, plain sesame oil. You can even just use that. Some people even use ghee, but the oil makes it much easier. So some herbs that are really effective to help strengthen your immunity is amalaki or Chyavanprash. Amalaki is the main ingredient in Chyavanprash. It's very high in antioxidants and vitamin C. So it does an excellent job of strengthening your immunity, as well as it's a fruit. It's considered a superfruit, so it actually cleanses your colon as well. And it's really important to have a good bowel movement every day. So amalaki can help with that, to have it be well formed like a banana. The second herb is guduchi. It's very immune building and life extending. Studies have shown that it can increase, like almost double the lifespan of a fly, for instance. So it's very good at protecting the immune system. And then neem is a great antiviral, antifungal, antibacterial herb that stimulates the liver. So it helps fight off infection. So all of those herbs are really effective in preventing COVID. In terms of the dosage, you know, I would feel a person's pulse and customize things per their constitution, because even too much of a good thing can be not a good thing. Warm water, as Sister Pushpa mentioned, aids in digestion. There's a saying in Ayurveda that warm water is like nectar and chilled water is like poison. It's used very medicinally in very small doses, chilled water is. So in general, room temperature or warmer. It's really soothing to the system and it aids in your digestion. Our digestion is considered like a digestive fire, Agni. So if you pour ice cold water, it's like killing your digestive fire. Eat no more than 1 anjali of food at each meal. So anjali is my name, but it also is a mudra. It means an offering of respect. When you open it up, it becomes a unit of measurement in Ayurveda. It's about a pint. So they say eat no more than can fit into 2 of your hands at one meal, so that your stomach is like 1/3 empty, 1/3 full, and 1/3 liquid, like the way you cook rice. If you make it too full, it'll overflow. And that's how our digestive system is. If you stuff our system with too much food, then it creates, it's harder on our metabolism and it creates more toxins. You can do intermittent fasting. There's a lot of benefits of fasting. It burns away at the toxins, it strengthens our digestive system, it improves clarity of the mind. Or some people even do once a week fast. So they may do a juice fast once a week or a khichdi fast. Khichdi is like food of the gods in Ayurveda. It's mung dal because it's very balancing. With some grain, you can use basmati rice, quinoa, or brown rice, with vegetables and digestive spices. And eating that even, you know, once a week, that's all you eat all day, can be really effective. And the juice that you select can be per your constitution. There's back tapping for the lungs. So you can just tap. So you could have somebody do it for you. Tap on the back. And as you tap, it helps improve that circulation into the lungs and breaks up mucus in the lungs. And then there's certain pressure points I'll show you here that you can do on the edge of your sternum. So if you find your breastbone, your sternum, that bone right in the middle here, and you go on the edge of it, in between the ribs, these are all really effective lung points. And you may even notice that some of them are tender. So as you massage here, you'll strengthen your lungs. Okay, so that's some recommendations there. There's a blue light meditation that Daji, the head of Heartfulness, has shared with us. That's excellent to improve your lungs and respiratory system, and it can help as a prevention for COVID or even reducing some symptoms. So you just imagine the blue light coming from the top of your head, into your lungs. And just do that for 2 or 3 minutes, just as a preventive measure. Few basics of Ayurveda is the bed before 10 p.m. is ideal, because between 6 and 10 is kapha time, that heavy water earth time, and it promotes deep sound sleep. Studies have shown as you go to bed after 10 p.m., it produces cortisol, which is a stress hormone. So it just reduces the quality of your sleep, and you'll end up feeling more rested as you go to bed around before 10. And then lunch should be your main meal in Ayurveda between 10 and 2, because that's when your sun is at its highest point in the day, and that's when it kindles your digestive fire, and that's really when you require the most fuel. So those are just some basic tips for good health. And as you have stronger digestion, better immunity, then obviously it will help prevent COVID as well. You have a stronger system to fight it off. And then of course, yoga, pranayama, and meditation are wonderful tips for overall well-being, as we've learned this weekend. When you know your constitution, you better understand yourself, accept yourself, and you know how to keep yourself in balance through the seasons of the year, as well as the seasons of life. And that is the end of my presentation. Thank you so much for having me and for allowing me to share this ancient wisdom with you. And we will take it away now to Joshua for heartfulness. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Anjali. It was wonderful, very fast. I'm sure people want to find out your address, your email, your phone number. So please provide that in the chat box and we'll give it to those who call us about that too. So now we're ready for Joshua, and I'm sure he's here. So Pratibha ji from the board, HCO board, will be introducing him. Pratibha ji, you have to unmute yourself. Pratibha ji, are you meditating or you have to unmute yourself? Yeah, please introduce the last speaker.
Hello, everyone. Namaste. And welcome to Mr. Joshua Pollock. And he is one of those person that I really have to have respect for him is that, first of all, I will discuss that he has, I think I probably am not able to see him.
Yeah, he's there, Pratibha ji.
Achha, okay. Alrighty. And the first thing is that he was a co-author of this book called Meditation, Heartfulness Way. And this was one of those important books that I had, read and was very fascinated with that. And also being a part of Heartfulness Meditation, he is one of those integral part of this organization. And also he is, a lot of people may or may not know, he has been in the music playing violin as well, and he had played quite a few, had music, playing in different movies as well. So with that, I really want to welcome Mr. Josh Pollock for getting guests for us a different type of imaginations, heartfulness meditation. So thank you so much for allowing me to speak up for Mr. Josh. Thank you, Joshua, and welcome to this meditation camp.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, thank you for the lovely introduction.
We can get rid of the slide now.
Okay. I've been listening with great interest to the previous presentations, and they resonate so much with what I also have to share. I was very interested and fascinated in the particular mudra, for example, which shows that, well, where the purpose is to somehow unite the left brain and the right brain. And that was described as sort of, the example given was, some certain people will be interested in introspection and even meditation, as certain people are very externally oriented. And this was related to the right brain, left brain analogy. Now, the reason that this resonated with me is because it strikes me as exactly the same principle with which heartfulness meditation was just built upon. In fact, there's a long spiritual tradition that aims to unite the spiritual and the material. I think it goes back. I think scholars also agree that it goes back a very long way. And if you look at the Vedas, right? That is very much about dharma. It's very much about karma. Right? But then if you go to the Upanishads, then all of a sudden it becomes very much about moksha, right? It's about liberating oneself. And these people are now no longer in society. They're forest dwellers, right? And so, and basically you could call them sannyasis, the figures in the Upanishads. as opposed to the figures in, well, the people for whom the Vedas are aimed. They're people who live within civilization, who are performing rites. So this sort of, let's say, divide exists there until, I think, Bhagavad Gita. And it's Lord Krishna in the Gita that really unites the two and says both can be lived at once. One can act one can act and also become liberated. You can do dharma, you can do karma in a dharmic way and also attain moksha. That's sort of the message of the Gita, one of the main messages of the Gita. And so in that vein, we come to heartfulness, where we use a different analogy. We use an analogy of the bird which soars on two wings, and not just any bird, like a little hummingbird which flaps, but let's say an eagle, right? Where it soars upon a air in the sky, and you see it, and the wings don't move because it's soaring, not flapping. And and what happens if one of the wings is depressed, right? Is that suddenly the bird starts going in circles. It stops flying straight. It goes in circles now. And so that's the same thing that we find in our own lives. If we take one of our wings to be the spiritual wing and the other one of our wings to be the material wing, right? Both have to be firmly outstretched, and then we soar straight. Whereas if we take one wing and put it down like this, right? We close it into ourselves and don't use it. Then we start going around in circles. In other words, life becomes imbalanced. And those wings are the material wing and the spiritual wing, or the inner wing and the outer wing. And both have to be utilized, and we have to lead our lives in such a way that the material life and the spiritual life are given due attention. And in fact, not even balanced against one another in the sense of a bird is balancing, but integrated with one another so that we're able to spiritualize our material life. So the essence of spiritualizing one's material life can be understood as the state of liberation while still alive. Though you're in the world, though you're in nature, in this universe, firmly and absolutely, and acting with it with a gusto and passion as anybody else, at the same time, you're not of it at all. You're completely separated from it. You're immersed in it, yet you're separated from it. That is the condition of being liberated while alive. That means within a state of apparent bondage. So it's freedom. And so this is what the message of the Gita is. This is the possibility that it offers. And heartfulness practices are practices which exist to provide that process, to realize that possibility, to make it real for you in your own life. It won't just happen on its own. It won't happen on its own. I mean, anything is possible. So I won't go so far as to say, make a definitive statement. But what will help us is certain practices which fundamentally grant us the ability to liberate ourselves while living in this life, while living the modern lifestyle, which is particularly, some say, particularly unconducive for such endeavors. The issue is that when we're talking about yoga and we're practicing yoga, heartfulness is also yoga. Right? There are many things can be considered yoga. This word means so many things. Generally, people often most frequently associate this word with a Sanskrit root of this word, which carries the connotation of uniting two things. Right? So this idea of uniting two things is inherent in the word itself, yet at the same time we encounter so many other definitions of the word throughout the literature, throughout the history. I mean, if you look at the Patanjali Yoga Sutras, right? Patanjali's Yoga Sutras, you find a completely different definition where the goal appears to be not one of union, but one of separation, meaning separation of the Purusha, the soul, or the root of the consciousness from the nature. In other words, liberation, Kaivalya. So he's advocating separating oneself from all the things that tend to trap us in our lives, right? And so one could get confused and say, I thought yoga was about union. And then of course there's the Gita, where yoga is defined in many ways. And in consonance with this idea of leading an integrated life, a spiritual and material life, he of course defines it in a completely new way as, skill or excellence in action, which just highlights the fact that we have to be active. Coming back to this idea of union and separation, we also, if we really contemplate these two things, these two opposite concepts, we find that one is impossible without the other. In other words, if I'm, let's say, if I'm, going to go on a plane, I will be connected with the earth. I'll be connected with the ground until the moment that the plane lifts off. Now I've become separated from the ground, but now I'm in union with the sky. So we engage with one thing and disengage with the other. So this is actually a process of disengaging and engaging. And this engaging and disengaging is has everything to do with consciousness and awareness. Now, let me be a little bit more concrete about this. Oftentimes we have, there are things in life which bother us. We have habits which bother us, or, character traits which we do not seem to be able to escape, right? So the issue is, what happens here is that in yogic sort of terminology, you can say that you're identified with those. You're identified with those particular traits or those particular habits, or, you can even identify with a place, you can identify with an ideology, you can identify with a person. This idea of identification really, it comes in degrees. One level, it means I feel resonance with a particular idea or a particular place. Or anything. I feel some kind of sameness or some sort of resonance. But the stronger that resonance becomes, the stronger it becomes, the more closely you feel yourself allied with that particular thing, whatever it is, whatever level of your life it exists at, whether it's ideological or physical, it doesn't matter, or your own body, whatever it is, the more strongly you feel attached to it. And a time also comes when you feel that you are that very thing. You identify with it. You say, yes, this is my body. And yes, this is my mind. Yes, this is my nationality. I am nothing but an American. And that comes to define me in my own mind. So this identification is there. Or I find that I have certain bad qualities, right? Let's say a negative quality of some kind. And I find that I am unable to change myself, so I identify with myself and I say, I'm only like this and I cannot change. And now I've defined myself in my own mind with that quality. So like this, we actually trap ourselves into smaller and smaller boxes and identify ourselves. And then it becomes difficult to come out. So yoga ultimately is about attaining freedom. And the way that we're able to come out of these things is rather by shifting our attention and engaging it with something higher. That is the fundamental thing we're doing in yoga. It is only by doing that that we can escape from things which are holding us back, which are holding us down, from things which are lower. It's like with a child, right? If a child is, let's say, misbehaving, right? Or the child is actually, let's say, insisting that they want a chocolate, and you're not going to give them a chocolate. So you can argue with the child, or you can distract the child and say, why don't we do this instead? Now you've engaged their attention, and the child is actually liable to forget about the chocolate. I remember this myself. When my daughter was only 2 or 3, she would get in these typical, tantrums that 2-year-olds and 3-year-olds get into. And there was nothing I could do. There's just no way to stop it until I found a way. I would pick her up and she'd still be screaming. I'd pick her up and just open the door and walk outside. And all of a sudden it's a completely different environment. There's trees, there's birds. And it just almost stuns you. On a subtle level, it stuns you just going into a completely different environment like that. So all of a sudden she would see, 3 birds, and the wind would come and the leaves would rustle. And you could see her inner state changing. Her condition would change and she'd stop crying. This happens with us when we meditate and come into contact with the divine sort of essence, however you want to classify it, this really sublime essence or experience that we have when we go within. It stuns us in the same way, the purity of it and the sublimity of it. And all of a sudden, our mind is automatically diverted from the things, other things, from lower things in life. So this happens almost in a subconscious way without our trying to become free, without our trying to liberate ourselves in any way. So it's really a natural path. It's a natural way of achieving this. In heartfulness, its name actually is Sahaj Marg, meaning natural way. And it is a very natural way because you don't focus upon the thing which you're trying to escape from. There are certain practices. I'm aware of one practice. There's so many methods that can be used to solve various issues in life. There's one method which, as one of its sort of side effects, it's for something else, but one of its side effects is to lessen the pressure of the sexual drive for people who are really oversexed, let's say, right? That's one of its its byproducts or side benefits, that it has this effect. However, if you were going to prescribe this technique to someone who is suffering from that exact issue, and you told that person the reason that you were prescribing it and that it should have this effect of freeing them from this tendency, in fact, now it would become counterproductive, because now they're focusing upon the particular tendency which they're trying to remove. And in so doing, they're keeping their attention right there and they're engaging with it 150%. And so now it won't work. The only way to come out from such things is really to forget about them 100%, absolutely forget about them. And so we're able to do that by exposing people to higher states of consciousness. Higher states of consciousness. The way we do that in heartfulness is through the heart, as the name would suggest. And again, to return to the Gita once more, where it is stated very clearly on more than one occasion that the divine exists within the heart. And of course, somebody could argue that the divine should exist everywhere, but that doesn't matter. The point is that it is through the heart where we can perceive it, where we can experience it, because we're not going to be able to experience it with any other organ. It's not that you can see it with your eyes. So you can feel this with your heart. It's an experiential thing. And when we really are able to, we get stunned by this sort of, I won't call it a divine vision because that's too romantic, but an experience, what else to call it? A feeling. When we get stunned by this, and now all of a sudden it converts our whole, your life is never the same. You can see examples when somebody goes to war and the horrors that they perceive, the horrors that they experience when they're in the war, they come back. And now they have post-traumatic stress syndrome. They're never the same again. They've experienced something which has shaken them. This does it in reverse effect, where it's not a stressful thing, but rather it's the most wonderful thing. And now you can never be the same after this sort of inner paradise or inner oasis that you've discovered. Now all of a sudden, the perspective that you have on life is completely different. People talk about the illusory nature of life, right? And it doesn't mean, of course, that things are not real. Things are real, right? And it has its technical, Maya has its technical definitions, but I'm making a different point, which is just to say that if you only see a half-truth about life, then that's worse than a complete lie, because it's like a mouse, right? The mouse only sees the cheese. They don't see the trap, right? They see the cheese. So that's worse than if they saw the whole thing, right? What we do here is, if we're not able to have any contact with the divine, then we're really seeing a half-truth, and we're misconstruing what life is all about. Even if we believe it, it's not the same as experiencing it. So we have to go deeper and deeper into the experience, and then all of a sudden life seems different itself. And the purpose of life all of a sudden seems different, which means that my action in the world will be different, right? So now I'm able to develop this natural renunciation, right? This natural renunciation, which is not a renunciation of my life or of of the activities in my life or my profession or the people in my life, but it's an inner, not a renunciation in a sense, but more of a firm, say, you devote yourself, you dedicate yourself to something higher. That's the very definition of bhakti. You dedicate yourself to something higher. So now you become a bhakta. And this is a very, everything proceeds from there. So this is in short, what meditation and meditation on the heart, these are some of the possibilities, or these are some of the, I haven't really described any of the states that truly arise from it, but only sort of the process or the trend that it takes. So it's a trend towards liberation. It's a trend toward bhakti. It's a trend towards, freedom. It's a trend towards integrating your life, because now you're moving through your life without being pulled by anything. So it's a very light kind of existence, a lot of lightness. So your feet are very light on the ground. And so we have techniques to support this. I won't go on philosophizing. Sorry, I can't keep going too much. I'd also like to say at this point that if I'm saying anything out of order or wrong, please correct me or put it in the chat. I'm aware that there's a general question and answer period at the end of the session. I like interactive presentations. I sort of prefer that to speaking into a vacuum. And so my suggestion would be, if anyone has any questions to me as I'm speaking, that you can feel free to put them into the chat. I don't want to mess around with the, with the format of this presentation though. So if the organizers would prefer that all questions come at the end, then I defer to them. In any case, so
it is
heartfulness.
your choice. So if people have questions, they can unmute yourself and ask Joshua ji. So please do so. Thank you.
Yes. Or if you feel more comfortable, you can type it in the chat. I'm okay either way. So here we are. We come to heartfulness and its techniques. And today, before this session is over, I am going to demonstrate some techniques to you, or at least one. We can have a meditation session. Okay, here's a question. What has helped you the most in your motion? That may be a typo. The first thing that happened, when I started, I'm not sure I understand the question exactly, but I can just share a little something.
In motion, I was just thinking of emotion is our external motion.
Oh.
And in the worldly affairs, and in motion is this yoga.
Oh,
I'm
yes,
a psychiatrist, so I speak that language.
Thank you. Okay.
So what has helped you in your inward journey the most?
I understand. I will say that, well, this meditation technique, number one, I found this. I'm American, obviously. I'm talking to you right now from New Delhi. I'm in New Delhi. This is where I live. I started this meditation, though I'm from the state of Maine in the Northeast. I started this meditation in Cleveland, Ohio, where I was going to school at the time at the Cleveland Institute of Music. And that's where I found it. And in my very, very first contact, I would say, with this method, my most profound contacts that I had initially, which really convinced me that this was something that was very good for me, what happened at the Heartfulness Beaver Creek Meditation Center, which maybe some of you know. And I would drive down from Cleveland and just have these profound meditations there. They would have host gatherings, maybe a weekend, they'd have a few meditations. Some people would come locally. And it was such a wonderful thing. And that would sort of charge me up for the next, like a battery, for the next number of months. And I'd come back again. And I tried to come as much as I could. The first thing that I noticed when I practiced this method is actually that it just woke me up to these sort of intrinsic, wholesome values of the heart that I felt that I'd been drifting away from in my life. You don't notice when you drift away slowly. You know, it's like you can lie on a raft and all of a sudden you're on the water, and then you don't realize how far you've drifted from the shore. And in the same kind of way, especially as a student, you know, and you just get up to anything when you're a student also. And I just sort of didn't realize that I was drifting away from something really true inside. And then when I meditated, it just sort of woke me up to the heart insists on absolute morality. It's not imposed externally. I mean, it can be, but that's not the true thing. The real authority in one's life is one's own heart. And when you're aware of your heart, all of a sudden it speaks so loudly to you, and you can't resist it. You know, so its values are selfless values. People say follow your heart and they think it means follow your desire, but the heart really means something else. The heart really directs you, and it's your conscience. So it kind of just I think not everybody's muted.
This is what we were worried about when we. Please
Yeah,
mute
please everybody mute.
yourself. Yeah.
So that's the number one thing. It's only when your conscience is okay.
So following
so-
your heart, you are saying
Yes.
following your heart was very important for you.
Right, thank you. So the reason is that when we're speaking of the heart and identifying it with the conscience, people speak about how meditation gives you peace, and it's true, but it can't give you peace if your conscience isn't at peace. It just can't. It can't override that. Or then it's like whitewashing it. You'll get some really shallow kind of peace, but at the deepest levels, you're not comfortable with yourself. So it can't be a real peace. You can't use spirituality and meditation and these kinds of techniques to sort of paper over a corrupted heart. It won't work, but they can transform the heart and purify the heart. So that's the number one thing. And then you can experience peace. And then a cascade of positive inner states follows from that. So that's the number one thing right there. And, you know, as in terms of experiences and inner experiences, I don't know how deeply to get into this, but the other presenters.
Do what your heart says.
Yes, thank you. They mentioned the presence of the Panchabhutas within us, the 5 elements. And this heartfulness system also takes that into account. And and part of this concept of liberation, as we understand it, involves sort of transcending these elements or resolving these elements, I could say, in our lives, in our systems. And this we do because each of these elements is associated with a particular subtle center within the body, within the frame. And these subtle centers there's a number of them, there's 5 of them. There's more than 5, but there's 5 of them which are very important ones within our chest area. And then additional ones in the area of the head. And it's sort of a sequence. We go one by one, and these centers, you can call them chakras. You can also call them granthis, because they are knots in a way. They're veils, because you can call them organs of perception, inner organs of perception in a way. Really, the heart is the organ of perception, but these allow the heart to have that perception. So they kind of tune the heart's consciousness or modulate the heart's consciousness in a way. So by bringing them into their higher state, by purifying them and opening them up, all of a sudden a veil is lifted from us, and we get a true experience of a deeper reality or a subtler reality. That becomes your lived experience. People can write about Aham Brahmasmi. People can speak about it, right? And write about it and, idealize these states of I am Brahman and things like that. But it's wholly different from having that experience. Wholly different. to have that experience, you have to lift the veils. And these veils are there in the form of these knots, which part of the inner process of spirituality, which we're not really involved in, but it's part of the process which the practice itself promotes. This is the unraveling of these knots, the lifting of the veil, and suddenly now you can see with a divine vision, you can say. And this happens in a progressive way over time. And we enter progressively subtler states. Our consciousness becomes subtler. Everything keeps getting resolved and reabsorbed into its more essential state. We have so many faculties. We're going in so many different directions. Everything has to come to a central access, a central point rather, a central point, and get sort of reabsorbed into its essence again and again and again in a subtler and subtler and subtler way, until finally everything has sort of been resolved into its true nature, right? And that we can reclaim that true nature. So there's so many things in the chat. I haven't been paying attention.
Thank you.
Let's see. Questions. Okay. So many. Okay. Okay. Affirmation of the importance of the heart. Musical journey, Ayu. Depressed people meditate, they tend to focus on negatives. So reportedly meditation does not help some of you. Yeah, this is an important point. It depends upon, you see, because meditation depends upon this flexibility of the mind to be able to detach from things and attach to other things, right? Because of that, somebody with a really fixed mind and a really fixed awareness is going to run into some trouble. Of course, everybody has a certain fixed awareness, so it's here to help us. But in a person with a very extreme issue, extreme psychological issue, where it's like a deep depression, which is not a depression because of some easily identifiable cause, but just seems to be sort of the way a chemical thing, you know, the way they're wired, then we have to take such cases, you know, we have to, on a case-by-case basis, we can't necessarily just say, oh, let them meditate and that'll solve everything. No, in some cases, it can make it worse. They can just close their eyes and start brooding and brooding and brooding because they're not able to remove even slightly themselves to the extent of saying, okay, let me meditate on something higher now. So we have to, yes, that's a very good point. Such cases have to be taken, you know, treated with kid gloves. And okay. So I would say for such a person who wants to meditate, but you're not sure if they're a good candidate for meditation because of these pre-existing psychological conditions, then you can consult with one of the Heartfulness trainers. And I vouch for the fact that there are many in the area of Dayton. So you can go to them and just have a simple conversation with them, share what the issue is. If you're such a person, share what the issue is with them, and then you can come to some sort of course of action, perhaps. Somebody, Heartfulness Dayton, says a cleansing technique from the Heartfulness Institute will help patients, yes, this is also true, will help patients be relieved from negative tendencies. That's also true. You see, there is so I've been speaking about meditation, but there's also, we have a cleaning technique which removes so many of these, this emotional baggage that we carry. And in the same way as I was trying to explain earlier, where we don't focus upon a particular negative and say, let me remove this, or else it'll backfire on us. In a similar way, we close our eyes when we do this technique, and with the thought that everything is just going to leave. We don't get specific about what in particular is going to leave. Everything. In the same way that when you take a shower, you don't think, okay, this pen mark on my wrist, that's gonna go away, and you know, it's not like that. So you take a shower with the understanding that you're going to be clean afterwards. So in the same way, the cleaning is done like that, in such a way where it doesn't enhance any of the, or exaggerate any of the defects that we're trying to remove. The whole thing has to work in a very subtle way. It has to work in a subtle way. This is one of the reasons also that a guide is important, because a guide can correct things without you even really knowing about it, right? Without you having to, you can focus on what you have to do. The guide can focus on what they have to do. Let's see. question. Okay. Cleaning, yes. Cleaning technique, getting rid of tendencies. Yes, you can try Hearts app. It's a free app which connects you to an actual real live trainer on the other side. So that can help you as well. What do I do in New Delhi? Not much since this pandemic started. I've been in India for a number of years for different reasons each time. And so this is just a personal thing because two people have asked now. I first came as a visitor in 2005. And I first came to live in 2008 when I was hired by A.R. Rahman, the film composer. And I worked at his music school and played violin solos in the films for which he composed music and played music. So that was for a 2-year period, 2008 to 2010. So that included all these films like Gajini and Delhi 6 and 6 or 7 others whose names I perhaps never knew, but you never know the names actually. You just get called to play something. You don't know what it's for. So it was like that. And then I'd find out afterwards, oh, okay, it was that movie. Anyway, so I came to India then, moved back to the US again, came back to Chennai again, where I'd been the first time in 2014. And I stayed there until 2017. That used to be the Heartfulness headquarters, was there in Chennai. So that was very nice for me personally. And now I'm here in Delhi because my wife happens to be posted she's a diplomat, so she happens to be posted at the US Embassy here in Delhi. So that's what I'm doing here now. And I'm here with my kids and my wife, and my mother is also here. So, that's what we're doing here in Delhi. And of course, I wrote a book called The Heartfulness Way, which goes into a lot of depth on all these topics. I wrote this with my guide. His name is Kamlesh Patel. He's known more popularly as Daji. He's the guide of the Heartfulness Institute. He's the 4th in the lineage of guides, of gurus. And in the book that I wrote with him really consists of me asking him a lot of questions and him speaking in great depth about the practices and how they can help you and what they help you achieve. And so due to that, I ended up, it was very good that I was in India because I just have been mostly until the pandemic, I've been traveling around in India and doing activities related to heartfulness, using this book as a vehicle to share this with people. So that's basically what I've been doing in this country. This heartfulness as a system, it goes back quite a ways, and this particular lineage starts in the state of UP, with the birth of its founder, Sri Ramchandra, in I think 1873, and he was such a unique figure because although he is the first guide in this particular lineage of guides, yet at the same time, there were so many other traditions and streams which all merged in this one person. There's so many other, the Kabir, what do they call it? The Santmat, right? Which is this line which has to do with Kabir. He was, influenced by that, but he had contact with the saints of that particular line. He had contact with Sufi saints. He had contact with 2 or 3 other traditions, and and he was also sort of viewed by some of these traditions as the person to carry them on. But what he ended up doing was he was inspired on his own, and he ended up almost creating a new system entirely. And his idea, or when he trained people, it was with the attitude of making them, sort of this generosity of making them better than he was himself. And one of his disciples of the same name, coincidentally, improved upon the system of his own guru to such an extent. I mean, I don't even know he added so many methods and really perfected it. That's what we're practicing today. But, you know, it has roots very, very in the distant past. So, and finally, Daji is the sort of the successor and representative of all of this at the moment.
So Joshua, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
I want to ask a question really. My name is Arun Agarwal. I live in Dayton, Ohio. So you talked about that rat and then the cheese example, right? And the
Right.
and the cage and I wish as a rat I could see the cage all the time. But I sometime I really caught into the situation, you know, that this rat is seeing the cage, but this cage, there is a cosmic force somehow, and then rat doesn't even have any choice. It just enters into that cage, knowing that it is entering into a cage. I hope you understand. I mean, there are family situations, right? Your brother going through a very bitter divorce, you losing your mother, uh, y-
Yes.
your kids do not having a great uh, health issues. At that time, you know, other than having a direct cell phone contact of Joshua, who has got such a calming experience, what can you do to bring yourself to to your own center?
Yes. Well, you know, this, you know, I found out about this method on one day, and then maybe 3 days later, my teenage sister at that time was killed in a car accident. So when I started this, it was a time of intense family grief for that reason. And for me, what I found was it provided quite a bit of lightness in what was otherwise a really heavy time emotionally, and in other ways too. And somehow there was just, I mean, you can't remove the sufferings from life, but it was as if something just came and touched it and reduced the intensity and also gave hope. You know, to have faith in the face of human tragedy is a blessing. But faith like that doesn't come without a kind of experience, an inner experience. So that was something that was really, it felt like you could feel the support. You could feel the support. You know, there's the old symbol, I forget where it's from. Some of you might know better than me, of the, I think it's Kabir again, of the pot, you know, the potter who's shaping the pot by pounding this pot, you know, but he also holds the hand inside to support it so it doesn't break from those. So this is sort of a symbol of how a spiritually oriented life helps us bear so many of the blows and the storms which come. When I spoke about the bird with two wings and integrating material and spiritual life, I was taking into account such difficulties and blows that come in life and sufferings that come in life. It isn't like this is only possible when things are going smoothly. It's precisely for, I mean, it's, you know, when you look at these old texts, it's fun to become philosophical and enjoy it from a philosophical perspective. But the reality is, if you look at Patanjali, or if you look at Buddha's philosophy, they exist to reduce, or to not reduce, but they exist to help us with the inevitable suffering that and miseries that we have in life. It takes those into account. So, you know, specifically, all I can say is that I'll pray for you, and I recommend for you to just try some of these things, especially in these times where there's COVID. We all get freaked out so much. I mean, no matter how much you meditate. In my household, we all got COVID. You know, my mother was 75. I was very worried for her. Of course, I meditate, but I was very concerned for her at the same time. And, and the kids and everything, these things, life is just like this, but we just have to find ways just to keep ourselves very, we got to just keep ourselves centered and find ways to keep coming back to that center when we start to get freaked out or too much grief. My father died last year too, and it was a difficult thing to watch. This is something that helped me a lot in that period of time. And also I think I was able to help him through some of these things that we do in heartfulness. It isn't only yourself. So I think with that, maybe we can why don't we just maybe we can sit quietly if there's some time, and we can just have a little meditation session and just try to bring ourselves back into a sort of central state and get in contact with something which is really sort of affirming of something very positive, and see how that can help us. Why don't we have a short meditation? Here we're going to meditate upon our hearts. We're going to meditate not just on the heart, but let's suppose that there's the divine presence in our heart, the source of light within our heart. And first I'm explaining it to you, and then I'll walk you through it. A source of light within the heart. I'll just mention one thing before we start also, because I feel very moved by the last questioner. And there's some places in the desert, in the Sahara, where once in a year it'll rain, and only once. Now it'll be wonderful on that day, but you better dig a well if you live there, because eating once in a year or drinking once in a year isn't going to be able to sustain you or nourish you on a daily basis. So what we're doing here is we're finding a way to sustain ourselves and nourish ourselves on a daily basis at a spiritual level, which, being the subtlest level, has the possibility of percolating out to all other levels, right? The emotional and mental, and even the physical to a certain extent. So we're having to nourish ourselves at the most essential level, which will then have a nourishing, supportive effect on everything else. So coming back to this meditation. When we meditate, we're just simply putting our attention there on the heart, making this simple suggestion at the very start that there is light present, divine light present in this heart. And during the meditation, I simply just witness. I feel what's happening. I feel how the heart is behaving. I just quietly and patiently wait to see what kind of changes gradually emerge over the course of my meditation. So it's a very passive thing that we're doing, just sort of quietly observing our heart, how we feel there, and with the suggestion that divine light is present, and seeing what changes in us over the course of the duration of this meditation. So we do, and people always, by the way, ask about thoughts and how we handle those thoughts. And so the only thing we can say is let them be there, ignore them, treat them like an uninvited guest in your house whom you don't go out of your way to entertain, but neither do you kick them out. They're just there. So like, background noise on the street or something like that. So I'll walk you through a brief meditation. We'll meditate 10 minutes perhaps. And in the course of this, actually to lead us into this, I'll help you relax all the body parts systematically, and then we'll sit quietly. So let's begin. Let's close our eyes ever so gently. Sit comfortably. Any posture, any asana is okay for this. And bring your attention to your toes. And you can move your toes and relax them. can think to yourself that a gentle and healing current of energy from Mother Earth is rising up into the soles of your feet, is entering to the bottom of your feet, and just spreading through your feet with the effect of relaxing them. And this gentle healing energy of Mother Earth now can rise gradually, slowly into your ankles, and relax them. This energy now will continue to gently rise up, relaxing your lower legs, your calf muscles, relax your knees, let your upper legs become relaxed, relaxing all the way up to your thighs, your hips, relax your waist, and your abdominal muscles. Relax your chest, all the muscles of your chest. Now let's relax the back, starting at the base of the spine, the lower back. Moving upwards, relaxing your upper back, now relax your shoulders, especially your shoulders. You can imagine that they're like water, that they're just melting. Relax your upper arms, your tricep muscles, and your biceps. Relax your elbows. And all the muscles in your forearms. Let your wrists relax. And your hands. Relax your fingers and you can feel energy flowing out from your fingertips. Now let your neck relax. Your throat. And relax your jaws. You can just gently drop your lower jaw. Relax your mouth, your lips. Relax your tongue. And all the muscles of your face. Relax your eyes. Let them be closed very gently. Let there be softness there. Let the brow be soft. Forehead. Relax your temples. Your ears and earlobes. All the way to the top of your head. To the back of your head. Let your awareness encompass your whole body. If you find any place, any muscle or organ calling out to you, it feels tense, it feels as if it needs attention in some way. Let the healing energy within your system from Mother Earth gently flow to that place and just sort of saturate that area. You can relax it. Now become aware of your heart. Now that your whole body is totally relaxed. And within your heart, already within your heart, is divine light from the source within. Which may subtly draw you inward. Now let us sit meditatively in this stillness, and let's meditate now. That's all. Emerge very gradually and slowly from meditation. So as not to fracture the meditative state. Just see how you feel. It's important to observe yourself after meditation. And more importantly even, see how you feel later today, 2 hours from now. And just keep in touch, you know? So that's, concludes, I think, my portion. I would like to say, in answer to the gentleman earlier who wondered, what do I do if I can't call up, Joshua on the phone? You can call up Anjali on the phone. You can call up Uma on the phone. You can get in touch with so many people who are in the area locally to you. If you don't know them, you can find out. Anjali is one of the previous presenter on Ayurveda. And, you can go to heartfulness.org and get connected there with somebody nearby you who can help you. And of course, it's all offered freely, so nobody will charge you any money. So thank you. I think I'm out of time, so I thank you for hosting me here on this wonderful occasion with so much interest and enthusiasm for yoga and related things. And so I wish you all the best, and I hope to meet you all very soon. So thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Joshua. It was very calming and relaxing experience with the meditation that you provided. Even though we are a few minutes over, it's okay. I think people feel relaxed. Those who have to leave, they can leave. We did not give enough time for the previous speakers to get their questions answered. Anybody had any questions for them?
Oh, I'm
They
sorry
can
for
put
that.
it in the chat. No, that's okay. No, we can put it in the chat, or they can be transferred to them if we, or their numbers are there, their emails are there, so you can directly call them. Anjali, Pushpa, and Vincent, they will all be happy to answer any questions for you. I do have a question for you, Joshua. One of the reasons why we did this camp and invited so many different organizations to provide the yoga, and that was, yoga is not physical exercise, it's more than that. And I think those who have attended this session from yesterday till today, they have got that answer already. Second question I have is, it's not a religious thing. It's a universal phenomena that anybody can do it irrespective of what religion you belong to. So if you want to make a comment about that, please, I would appreciate it.
Well, if when we're talking about yoga, in the Yoga Sutras, the way that Patanjali used language was very vague in a sense, and it made it very. Some people feel that it was intentionally so, and that this makes it very easy for it to be adopted and become very non-sectarian. it can become sectarian if you make it sectarian. It can become that way if you take it that way and say, the way that I'm going to approach divinity is only like this, in a very specific way, a very sectarian way. But that's also the beauty of it, is that that's possible. Even if that's not the ideal, there's the freedom there for people to, yoga, the thing about yoga is that is ultimately something which is experiential. There is the different types of the epistemology, the study of knowledge. And in ancient India, this was a full-blown thing, right? The pramana. And sorry for my pronunciation. And one of the valid means or valid sources of knowledge, valid means of knowledge, was prataksha, which means perception. And that's generally meant to understood as, almost in a modern scientific sense, perceiving, empirically through your senses. But what all of the major schools of ancient India, all 9, except for one, all accepted, as well as that, they all accepted this thing they called yogic perception, which was perception, things that could be perceived without the aid of the senses. But then the condition was that that person should have such a refined consciousness that they're not subject to all the faults of the mind and imagination and filters like that. So really, what that means is that this is something to be experienced. God is not something to be worshipped and believed in, but you have to have God realization instead. So it's something that in the end, you're forced into an encounter with the truth of things. And it doesn't matter what anybody tells you or what sect you belong to personally. So that's the idea. It is a tool or a set of tools that can allow you to have that direct vision of the truth for yourself. So that's
Well, thank you so much for clarifying that, because it is experiential. There's no dogma about it that if you sign here, then you get that experience. It's something you have to work on it, and it's not happen only in one camp or one night or one session. It's a life journey. So I just want to make sure we clarify that. Thank you so much.
Absolutely, thank you.
Okay, well, I think unless there's some pressing question, we can stop at this point. And yeah, questions are still welcome. Please send them through the email or to me or one of the speakers, and those will be answered. And we will meet again at the 4 o'clock for the last session. And it will be, as enlightening. We have 2 local yoga instructors who will be going through some yoga asanas. And then we have a couple of doctors who will be explaining the scientific basis behind what we do and what we have learned. So, and Dr. Vemana will be concluding. So please join again at 4 o'clock. Thank you.
Raviji, I think I put my question, Mr. Joshua. I think I had posed a question and raised my hands. And I hope I made as little sense is that this is a personal testimony. And Mr. Joshua, I think I know we have talked before in my other show. I think I remember that. My personal testimony is that September 28, 2018, I had a massive head injury. I fell down from 12 stairs and I was almost in emergency, bleeding for over an hour. And because it happened in my workplace, so it has to go through legal documents and before any doctor will see me. And so, and I was in the pain and I think I did share some pictures with Sister Anjali, and that happened. And the picture you will see in my presentation today, that was after 15 days of my head injury and also my recovery. The only option I had was meditation and distraction therapy, that nothing happened to me. Everything is fine. I will be better in the next few days. And I consistently practiced meditation on a consistent basis. And I recovered at least in between 15 to 16 days. And I was still, and since 2015, I have been practicing this and initiated or encouraged by Mrs. Raj Mal. and also initiated by Rohit Desai Bhaiji. So I thank you, all of you, to give me this journey. And it's been over 5 years I've been practicing this. So I will encourage any one of you who is listening to me is that time is all for us to maintain and balance. And the reason why I was explaining this in those incidents, because sometimes people do get a little distracted and we get worried about our illness. But I worried about that I will be better. I'll be better. And trust me, and it has been my daily practice on my daily routine. And it has become my life, and my life is much more better than it was 6 years ago. So thank you, everyone, especially the Heartfulness meditation, and especially to Daji, who has initiated this to all of us to practice freely. And Joshua ji, I have really had a great respect for you, the calmness and all the things that you have done to us, and all the local leaders that I interact with them. Thank you, everyone, and namaste.
Okay, thank you, everybody. And we'll can probably call it a day and meet again at 4. Thank you.